Okay, let's jump ahead and jump back to this past Sunday. Of course, WWE Network, the horror show at Extreme Rules. Not going to go over.
Say that name again.
And the worst part is every time I went to type the thing out, for some reason I would always I would always jump the last part of the word horror and just so I'd go like HORROW and I'd have to go back and correct my damn spelling. But yes, it was the horror show at Extreme Rules. Not going to go over match by match. Now we will talk about the swamp match. Because I think that was a very polarizing match from the show. Is there any? And let's talk about the eye for an eye match because I feel like this is like the biggest point of contention on this show for everybody. Yes, Tim.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio tried everything in their power to make a match in which a dude is going to pull the eye out of another dude's head as entertaining as possible. This match was, if you take away the handcuffing of the worst gimmick match ever, and this includes anything on a pole, this includes Kennel from Hell.
Punjabi prison?
Worse than Punjabi prison.
At least this match you could see.
I can suspend my disbelief for just enough, Jim. But to actually pull somebody's eye out, now you could say you have to gouge somebody's eye, you have to make them blind. The Road Warriors busted Dusty Rhodes in the eye with a spike. He was blind. They've already blinded Rey Mysterio. So, use that instead of this prop candy gumball eye. And apparently that was the second part. There was a whole prosthetic that they shot with.
Yeah, the CGI.
He's like, oh, this is shit.
The CGI. Get it? CGI. Yeah. You got it? You got that?
Whatever. Either way, Seth and Rey had a great match. They tore it down. But because it was connected to this eye for an eye, it will go down as the worst wrestling match I've ever seen.
Oh, come on.
And that includes the Swamp Thing match from the later in the card.
Oh, come on. Come on now. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Nick, go ahead. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to let you guys go and then I'm going to get my shit in.
Not just this match, because it was an awesome wrestling match. It really was. This could have been a match of the year contender if it wasn't for probably the most stupid, asinine stipulation I've ever heard before in my life. And when it happens, and to have it exasperated even more with Seth Rollins physically puking, I sat there and I was like, you ruined something good. This, on top of other things that happened on this card, in which this card could have been completely banger. To me, this one ended up being a crap show. A crap show. A 100% certifiable, non-negotiable crap show. They had something special. They really did. They had something special with a lot of matches. And because of these stupid stipulations and eye for an eye, it was a crap show.
Anybody else?
The crap show at Extreme Rules. He's not wrong. He's not. Here's the deal. If JR was calling this, he would have said slobber knocker a dozen times. They were hitting. They were fighting hard. Really good match. But why ever book the match? Why ever do it? It's why would you? And I don't even know how you're gonna pop somebody's eye out on the corner of the steps. Jam it in, sure, break an orbital bone, maybe Russ Vitale. I don't know how that happens. But and then he gets a fishing bobber? Is that what that was?
It wasn't a fishing bobber. The line wasn't the line. It wasn't a straight line. That was not a fishing bobber.
Was not. Oh,
fake
so that
news.
Was just like
fake news.
Got it. All right, was not a fishing bobber. And then, honest to God, Nick, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I actually like the vomiting part. Like, if I gouge somebody's eye out, I would probably be sick about it too.
But then after, see, the thing I have a problem with the vomiting part was this. He's the Monday Night Messiah. He said he was going to tear someone's eye out. He actually, quote unquote, tore someone's eye out. To make Seth Rollins vomit like that in a pretty gross sort of way, because I really would like to know what he ate for him to vomit yellow chunks that look like bile, to be very honest with you, like he hadn't eaten. It just, like, to me, was more overkill than what already happened. It was beyond the overkill.
But I mean, okay, like happened. if you say I'm going to do this, you do something, and you don't necessarily, you're prophesizing a major thing that you're going to do, and it's something to this level, gouging somebody's eye out. Have you ever gouged somebody's eye out? You don't know what that's going to look like. I can tell you, Matt, I'm going to come to your house tomorrow, I'll pop your eye out of your head. I can tell you that. I've never done it to somebody. If I do it, I might get queasy enough to puke. I don't know.
Jim, wouldn't you shit if you had a glass eye?
I probably would. That would probably surprise me.
If anything deserved the cinematic experience, it should have been the eye versus eye match, because then you could have used movie prosthetics and stuff like that and have someone that deals in horror that can actually, show exactly what needs to be done for an eye popping out of the socket.
Oh, they have Savini. They've got Savini on retainer, don't they? He made a damn belt.
I feel like this is one of those situations where, and don't get me wrong, I did not like the stipulation. So I'm not defending this stipulation, because it was doomed from the get-go. And the minute they announced this match, I'm like, there's no way this is going to end well. There just isn't, because either it's going to be a CGI situation where it's over the top or whatever. It's a prosthetic, makeup, Hollywood style, whatever, or they do something like they did. And no matter which way they did it, the end result would have been, if they would have went ahead and did, there was going to be a sector of the wrestling fan base, whatever, that was going to.
I could have accepted it more if it was cinematic.
See, to me,
they had a match. They had an actual match where nothing that was used was an implement of eye popping. Everything was eye poking, eye stabbing, nothing coming out.
I was fine with the way it ended. Again, the match itself was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Those two guys went out and kicked ass for, what was the time on it? 18 minutes. Like, they went out and they fucking killed it for 18 minutes. Absolutely nice. Absolutely had a banger of a match. The stipulation was doomed from the beginning. Personally, I had zero issue with the way they the way they chose to end it. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I was more surprised too that I honestly did. I thought that this was going to be a way to get Seth.
Stop saying
I can't help it. It's me. I'm talking about me. That's the correct way for me to describe myself at this point in time.
Ooh, me upset.
Me upset. Me happy with result. Me happy with how they did. He poke eye. Me okay with it. There. Is that better, Ryan? Does that make you happier?
I can't believe you don't have sound effects for eye gouging popping.
I don't. You're usually my popper, but you haven't. You can't come. You can't come to the studio for the last 4 months. Goddamn 2020.
Thanks, Corona.
But me have no problem with the ending of this match. Matt, any thoughts?
Anyway,
I don't understand why we're justifying the vomiting because that makes it a little more believable. Like that to me is the worst part of it. Like make him gag a little or something, but to just sit there and just straight vomit on the floor, it's just unnecessary. And like, I mean, everything else has just already been said. Great match, terrible finish. I don't think you can excuse the finish just because we all knew it was going to be bad. It was doomed from the start. That should be telling, don't do it in the first place. Like, that's it. Don't have the I stipulation at all.
Yeah, like again, the stipulation, it was doomed from the beginning. I will agree. I will agree with that part of it.
Look, I swear to God, if you give this pay per view an A, I'm gonna quit this show.
This pay per view does not have an A. Okay. I will tell you that this pay per view does not have an A.
Yeah, I already know what my grade is.
Any other matches besides the Swamp Fight that anybody wants to talk about?
I am okay with the tag teams. I love Cesaro. I saw somebody post something about it. It might have even been friend of the show, The Boar, about Cesaro being the best tag team wrestler. And he's right.
Kobe. Chris Hero, Tyson Kidd, Cesaro, or Sheamus, Shinsuke Nakamura.
Kobe.
It's all 4 different types of
There's
wrestlers.
A common denominator there.
Cesaro, and like that doesn't even include Cesaro doing stuff in Chikara with the BDK, where he's teaming with Aries, he's teaming with Tursus, and it's Cesaro is fantastic. Like whatever Cesaro wants to do, he can do it, and he is the greatest individual tag team wrestler of all time, by himself, isolated. And that's all due respect to the Bobby Eatons and the Arn Andersons and the Booker T's and like everybody who's been in multiple tag teams. Respect. But Cesaro is a different level.
He's the king. I thought that was a. Go ahead, man.
You want about Dolph Ziggler, by the way, about him falling off a little bit. Still one of the best sellers in the business, and that was a fantastic Claymore to finish that match.
Oh, dude, that Claymore. Goddamn. That was good. That was real good.
So I cannot believe Dolph Ziggler in any match from now on.
Right.
In a match in which it is Extreme Rules for him and not Drew. The ultimate loser, Dolph Ziggler, finds a way to lose again. Don't put him in any title matches or anything that leads me to believe he can win.
Well, you're going to get one next week, unfortunately.
I hope the stipulation is Dolph is done.
It could be possible.
That's what I hope.
I've seen that hypothesized that it's going to be title versus career.
Good.
Well,
Bye.
For me, Asuka versus Sasha Banks. Jim knows this very well. The way that WWE has been booking Asuka since she won the belt on a technicality at Money in the Bank is just mind-boggling to me. This is a woman who dominated NXT for almost 2 years, 538 or 500 plus days, undefeated, goes to the main roster, looks unbeatable at the main roster, and then, of course, we saw what happened at WrestleMania against Charlotte, and since then, it's been stop, start, stop, start. I thought after Becky leaving, Ronda obviously not coming back, now Charlotte, on the sidelines, besides Bayley and Sasha, who can you build around? Asuka would be perfect. She is a complete badass, but the way that they book her, they don't make her look strong. And she had another banger match with Sasha. That again, I disagree with the ending booking there. Yeah, I get you want to make Bayley and Sasha like the ultimate power trip right now, but at the expense of possibly the best wrestler on the roster as we speak. it's just getting to the point now where the level, to me, and this is just me, the level of disrespect being thrown at Asuka's way and the way that she's being handled, the way that she's being booked, it's just mind-boggling. It really is. It really is. And now they're having this match on Monday where I totally misread everything and I look like a complete fool in doing so.
Like, there was a point where I was like, I looked at it and I looked at your comment and I was like, and I looked back up at the picture.
I totally misread
and
it.
I'm
Jim.
like,
what do you call it? I just sat there for a day going, I kept staring at my phone. I'm like, I misread this. Totally.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't see it. Okay, it says, and I thought I remembered what Stephanie said, and because I was watching Raw, and I'm like, okay, no, I think DQs are in this. I'm just like, let me get clarification here. I'm a little confused, and then when you like reiterate it, I'm like, brother, I'm not seeing it, man. And then like there was another dude that was like, yeah, I'm not seeing it either. So I appreciate that you were like definitely misread the thing.
It was horrible on my part. But this is what I'm worried about for this coming Monday now. We have all these stipulations. Are they going to put the belt on Sasha and make Bayley and Sasha the complete power trip? Because it really is starting to scare me that that's going to happen when I'm waiting extremely patiently right now, and Jim, you can attest to this, for possibly what will be the best feud of the second half of 2020 if they ever decide to pull the goddamn trigger on Sasha versus Bayley. It's been teased. I'm hoping this Monday it's Bayley that actually costs Sasha the match, costs her the title or whatever, in which this it's either sow the seeds or, in typical WWE booking, go right into
it. Nick, I think I'm gonna disagree with a few of the things, and you talking allowed me to look some things up here. I think people think Asuka has always been like crapped on, but when you really look at like the stats, she is one of two women to be Grand Slam champions, her and Bayley. She is one of three women to be a Triple Crown winner, Raw, SmackDown Tag, her, Bayley, Alexa Bliss. So everybody thinks Asuka always gets crapped on. Money in the Bank winner, Royal Rumble winner. You can't have her win all the time. She's not Charlotte. Other than Charlotte, though, I think she does a really, really good job, and she's always up there. You can't argue the fact that I don't know.
And I mean, I think even because I know
yes.
Nick, even one of your arguments is like in the post Money in the Bank situation, you're saying that they're booking her as somewhat of a weak champion, but like I still don't even necessarily see it. And I understand that like you had the double count out at Backlash. I think it was at Backlash with her and Nia, but like part of the issue with the women's division is like you have like Bayley, Sasha, you had Becky, you had Charlotte. Like Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte were booked so strong. Then you had Kairi and Asuka that were near the top, but it just wasn't always there. And then there was kind of everybody else. Like the Iconics have been misused as a tag team. Like Nia Jax, obviously she returned from injury, and you like right, wrong, or indifferent, the WWE wanted to get her back in that title picture right away. And the only way you can do that is to look strong against somebody who's legitimate, and that is somebody like Asuka. And then of course with Becky leaving, getting Asuka the title, that's I think where the booking of Asuka and Nia came from. Like I don't necessarily view her booking, post Money in the Bank as making her look weak at all. I think could she look like a stronger champion? Sure, that I can at least agree with. But
that's my biggest gripe.
But in the same time, I think they're trying to build the women's division around her, and when you have somebody that's as strong as her, like there's to me like the two top women in the women's division is Charlotte and Asuka. The difference between the two and the way they book them is, typically speaking, Charlotte usually is booked to win every time. Asuka's the one that usually ends up, getting the screwy finish or sometimes losing at the expense of building somebody up. So I think that's where, and it just all depends on how a person chooses to look at it. You view it a little bit as they're kind of making her look weak. To me, I'm looking at it as she's strong enough to be able to handle maybe taking a loss or a no decision. Ryan.
I just wondered where Nikki Bella fits in your top 2 list.
Well, she's not currently in the division, right?
Oh, it was a current.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to talk about today's current product and say Bret Hart is number 1, but Bret Hart's my number 1 of all time.
We'll get to Jim's Mount Rushmore, and he'll say Nikki Bella 4 times.
Spoiler alert, Matt. People are trying to tune in for the whole goddamn show.
Well, here's the funny thing. I personally think the WWE Women's Division is so deep right now. You could have many programs for Asuka outside of the usual suspects. Really. That's just my opinion.
Right, yeah. I agree. Tim.
Yeah, my thinking is this. The COVID era is it's rearing its ugly head. Because there's only a set number of people that can be in attendance, the number of rotating people are brought to a minimum. That's why I think that this is the point I was trying to make last week, but I kept getting cut in and out. Sasha's gonna be champion because I think for the remainder of the COVID era, we're going to unify championships at SummerSlam.
See, that's kind of the thought I had.
Bayley versus Sasha, 1 women's champion. We're going to get Braun, Drew, 1 champ.
I'm fine with that.
That way, the COVID, especially with everything with COVID, there's not enough, at least on the SmackDown side of the world title picture. Who other than Braun Strowman is going after Bray, or who other than Bray Wyatt is going after Braun Strowman?
Agree, yeah.
And with the women's championship, Becky being gone, like on the SmackDown side, who's your believable contender to Bayley as champion?
Shayna Baszler.
She's on Raw.
Shayna's on Raw.
Yeah.
I mean,
Shayna's on Raw.
I mean, hypothetically, we could have a trade, but
you can put her wherever you want. But then again, you take her away from Raw, then that's one less reliable contender.
And I mean, we lost Charlotte. We lost both Charlotte and Becky at the absolute worst time, because those are 2 hands that, if Becky is not with child and Charlotte is not getting boobs redone, I think that's the injury. I think
there's a couple other things that are at play too.
But I think on the the Bella's podcast, I believe that was the point. She said the same leakage problem she had a couple years ago, she's getting redone again. It couldn't have come at a worse time, because those are 2 hands that would not have opted out.
But the funny thing is that if you say you're unifying the championships at SummerSlam, then what do you call whoever the unified champion is needs that foil to be that person yet you can run a program with.
Right.
That's the reason why I said Shayna Baszler, because I think, again, the WWE have dropped the ball with another NXT badass. For whatever reason, Vince doesn't like her. We know that. I don't know about, as of right now, I think Bruce Pritchard kind of likes her because they're starting to bring her back into the fold.
I was going to say, the last 2 weeks.
Again, but again, we're in the COVID era, so they may be, quote unquote, forced to somehow use Shayna as a foil to whomever it may be. But, you know, if you're really looking for something to run with, you do have ready-made programs that you can do. I'm really starting to get tired of 2020 watching Big Show versus Randy Orton when I saw it back in 2007, 2008. Why do I have to see it again in 2020?
I think that's telling a longer story with Randy Orton though, and I'm curious to see where this end game with Randy Orton goes, because Big Show isn't the first legend, that he's gone after.
And to be fair, all of these other people are just stopgaps for when Edge comes back.
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily put a program together with Randy Orton where I can put expendable characters like Big Show, like Christian, eventually Ric Flair, through the Orton machine till we get Edge back.
Like, and like, here's the, like, I love watching Orton punt people week after week again, whether it's 2009 or 2020, watching him punt people's heads off every Monday night. I'm here for that. That's been fun.
Little known fact. I love what you said about the stopgaps, like the Christians, everything like that. Big Show wasn't originally slated to be in there. Randy Orton actually just saw the Big show and demanded to kick him in the head. So they made the accommodation.
I still haven't watched. I still have only watched episode 1. I gotta.
It's worse.
I gotta get back at it.
I gotta ask you guys. One question I do have for everybody.
Sure.
And that's this: do you think Randy Orton would be the person to dethrone Drew Galloway to set up a title match with Edge down the road?
Yes.
I'll nod with Tim. Yeah.
Randy Orton is that dude. Like, he's really good. Like, he doesn't need a title, because if he wins the championship, he would then be tied with Triple H for second most title.
14.
Wins.
There's another punk fight to happen.
15. Because Randy Orton's at 14, Triple H is at 15, Rick and John Cena are 16. So having Orton win the title and then feud with Edge, I don't think that feud needs a title. I think that this feud is bigger than that. I think the Edge run we're going to get here is very analogous to the Shawn Michaels run we got when he came back in 2002. Like, and granted,
it's bonus time.
Shawn did win the World Heavyweight Championship shortly after returning, but he lost it like the next month at Armageddon to Triple H during Triple H's reign of terror. So it's not the same, but yeah, that's a very good question, because right now I don't see anyone who can be
that dude.
No, not even that dude, but just be the guy who's gonna dethrone Drew McIntyre. I don't know who that is yet.
Lou brings up a great.
Drew is so charismatic. He's so engaging, and his in-ring skill for a guy of his size, he actually, he is the total package. This is the Drew McIntyre. I was about to say Drew Galloway. Wow. This is the Drew McIntyre that everybody thought was going to run roughshod back in the early 2010s when he was quote unquote the chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
And how he reinvented himself on the indie scene to come back NXT champion, a little bit of a stop-start on the main roster because he was part of the Omni Shane era, as I like to call it. And then, finally, kicking it another notch the way that he did and the way that he's been, like, performing lately. I mean, granted, this is a stopgap thing now with Dolph Ziggler. Personally, I can't stand, but is the perfect foil for Drew Galloway right now because Dolph can sell anything and everything under the sun, even like a bad $2 spit shine.
Look at SummerSlam last year, the Goldberg thing. I mean, I fucking hate Goldberg, but that was a great segment on that SummerSlam.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So I need to know what WWE is going to do with Drew after he's done with Dolph. I mean, where do they go from here? The only logical choice for me is Randy. It's the only logical choice. Ryan?
But according to where I'm prognosticating, we're heading towards SummerSlam. If we're unifying titles, his foil is Braun. It's champion versus champion. Braun's already gone on record. Braun's already gone on record to say he wants Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. Move it up.
Right. What's the second best option?
What every pay-per-view in the COVID era has had a gimmick. SummerSlam, the biggest event, biggest party under the performance center with their biggest fan in attendance up in the sky. Like, WWE has unified titles before. When they're stuck, it makes perfect sense if you look at it this way too. Paul Heyman was just fired from Raw.
That's a great point.
Pritchard is now in control of both Raw and SmackDown as executive director.
And between the countdown to Fucktown and AJ Styles on Twitch, we know that Paul Heyman was a problem.
And so the vision is uniform. They're getting a bunch of heat from having too many people being in the performance center. Now you got to wear masks. There's a whole bunch of stuff. It really boils it down to running an even more pared down ship, rotating more bodies in and out who can be on Raw and SmackDown. One champion does double duty for tapings. It's one less body that has to be around. It's
right, and then you don't have to do the convoluted.
You can do the same thing with the tag titles, because what the hell are the tag titles doing?
Exactly.
Street Profits versus Cesaro and Nakamura.
Yeah, it would be a bummer to see one of those
AJ
teams
Styles.
lose.
Like,
I think you would still keep the two mid card titles there. But
not the last time they unified all the titles. Last time they unified.
Yeah, but they just redid both of those titles. I don't see them both. One of them going away.
See, the thing is, though, I don't think that it's going to be a unification for long. I think that this is a absolute.
Do you think they're going to actually come out and audibly say it? Like, look, shit sucks right now. This is what we're doing right now.
You can say that these times are the most unprecedented in the history of the World Wrestling Federation Entertainment.
We just saw a unification.
We saw John Cena versus Randy Orton.
No. You're missing it. We just saw a unification. And look how well that happened. 1 week later.
Well, no, we didn't see a unification. We saw a guy win 2 titles. There's a difference there. You're talking Keith Lee.
Yep.
Yeah,
that didn't unify.
That wasn't a unification.
Honestly, I really thought that they were going to unify the belts exactly how you said because of the COVID era. And then for him to relinquish the North American title, I just sat there. I was, that was like the big news. And I sat there and I was like, I was
honestly,
I like it.
I was honestly a little more shocked that he didn't spend at least a couple of weeks, maybe a month, defending both, or having multiple matches, because he's as good of a hand as you have. I mean, he's fantastic. So open a show with a North American title match, close the show with a world title match. I would have been here for that, but yeah, relinquishing it and the tournament is leading up to a ladder match is fantastic. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. Let's jump into it here, because I know this match. I feel like there's 2 lily pads in the swamp. There's a loved it lily pad and there's a hate it lily pad, and I don't think there's a lot of people just swimming in the water. So let's go around the room. We'll go Tim, Nick, Ryan, Matt. Loved it or hate it, and then we'll go back around and discuss. Tim.
I, for the most part, hated it.
Okay, Nick. We'll get to defenses later. We'll get to discussion later. Nick.
Are we talking about
the swamp match?
Hated it.
Oh, Ryan.
So freaking good.
Matt.
Very good. I loved it.
I loved it too. To me, A+. To me, this I think they hit it. They hit nails on the head all the time. Tim, we'll go to your defense first. Oh, Tim lost
Tim,
his
I
ears.
wasn't sure. Were you going to get snacks or were you leaving?
I'm about to leave.
Oh, I thought it might have been snack time.
Oh, it's almost snack time. Arnold's about to show up with some Red Robin. Spoiler alert.
Red Robin. God damn.
Look, man, I gotta eat.
Tim.
I don't keep
What
this
time is
body.
it there on the East Coast? It's pushing 9.
Ryan, like you've never eaten something equivalent to a Red Robin meal at 9 o'clock or after. Okay, just don't even.
Stop it! Cut it out! I have a glandular problem.
Tim, we'll go to you. We'll go to you. Why did you mostly dislike it?
So I mostly disliked it for just the fact that it just
here it comes.
Thank you, Arnold.
Room service.
Lovely people.
Ding.
So the reason why I'm more in a hate it boat than a loved it boat is I don't even know how. If I can be honest about it, it's because I'm clumping it into the worst WWE pay-per-view of all time.
Oh, come on.
It's the main event of the most forgettable, nothing happening, inconsequential match of all time. So Alexa Bliss is Sister Abigail. Cool. And Braun Strowman got jumped by Braun Strowman. And
you just made the list.
There's some Matt Hardy Lake of Reincarnation bullshit going on somewhere.
I don't even need to describe because Tim's just listing the reasons why it was so good to me.
Aside from the fact that I was supposed to be scared at some point because it's a horror show, and there was not one damn crocodile.
Well, it wasn't Braun versus ZZ. It was Braun versus Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm. And there ain't no alligator.
Nick,
tell me there ain't no alligator.
Nick, go ahead.
Basically, the reason why I didn't like it was this. It was too gimmicky. Way too gimmicky. It wasn't the cinematic experience that I watched with the Boneyard. It wasn't like the most well set cinematic experience that you could have seen like they did with with Bray Wyatt and John Cena. The way that they did that. I wanted to see more of like the backstory as to how Braun became Braun under the Bray Wyatt, under the old Bray Wyatt family regime. The nice touch about Alexa Bliss being, Sister Abigail was because there was history there with Alexa and Braun in the, in the tag team challenge and the teasing of the romanticism between them. But, in the end, I was just underwhelmed by it. I don't know what it was. I just could not invest myself into watching it. This felt more forced to me than any of the others that have been put together. It just seemed to me that this one wasn't as well planned and thought out as the others have been. I keep saying that WWE has almost jumped the shark, with their cinematic matches. They set the bar extremely high with the Boneyard match. They really did. Let's call a spade a spade. The Boneyard match is like now the bar, no pun intended to Sheamus and Cesaro. But
we are the bar.
It has been set as the bar for all cinematic matches. Cena versus Wyatt, spot on, unbelievable. Cole, the NXT one, it was all right. It was okay. Nothing special, but you were invested in it because of the story between the wrestlers. They could have done, to me, it's just they could have done so much more with this, and they dropped the ball. I was never so more disappointed after a match was over. I was like slumped in my chair. I was like, I wanted more than what it was.
Oh man, not me.
That's just me.
Yeah, not me. I was blown away. Ryan, we'll go to you.
Yeah, just to touch on a few things that Timid, I think, touched on the Sister Abigail thing. I mean, I think that's Bray Wyatt working in the mind of Braun Strowman. It kind of ties into what we saw at the Firefly Funhouse, where John Cena is John Cena's own worst enemy. He's using Braun. I'm watching you eat your burger, and I'm getting hungry. It's not even fair. I'm like looking at you on my screen, talking to you, and you're just going in for big old burger bites. Oh shoot, the burger totally. What burger did you get?
He's
Ryan. The monster.
Oh, it breaks my
Ryan's
heart.
looking at it.
Right, it does. It looks very tasty. I'm very excited that you're eating this. I think it ties into the Firefly Funhouse, where you see Bray Wyatt kind of work his magical Bray Wyatt things. I don't believe Alexa Bliss is Sister Abigail. I believe Alexa Bliss is Braun Strowman's Sister Abigail in that moment. And that's the cool little things about these matches that really got me going. That I loved it. From crust to tip, I loved it.
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this kind of gave us everything that I'm coming to expect out of what we're seeing in Bray Wyatt now with these cinematic matches, and just that he is becoming the psychological villain for the WWE. Like Ryan said, I think Alexa Bliss is the Sister Abigail version of what, is going to distract Braun from what he is trying to accomplish. We got a fantastic Bray Wyatt promo in that match, like a fantastic edge of your seat, one that we haven't seen since like the original Wyatt family vignettes. So that really brought me in to start, just because he is so good on the microphone, just so good. And I mean, he tells a story. He made it. Like I get what Tim's saying. We were technically supposed to be scared, but I think what they do with that, with Bray being in that sense, is he kind of pulls at like the psych. That's always been his thing, and I think he does it so well with these cinematic matches. Like, give me 100 more Bray Wyatt cinematic matches if they're going to be like this. If they're going to be like Firefly Funhouse, I will watch every single one. This is one that I will go back and watch over and over again.
Right. I mean, with the Firefly Funhouse match, you had a 15-year career to work with John Cena, and he went back to every moment of it. He went back to the Dr. Thugonomics. He went back to, the prototype John Cena. He went back to all of these moments. Again, John Cena is his worst enemy. When you look at this one, Braun Strowman being attacked by Braun Strowman, the story that they've told us throughout the course of this feud has been Braun doesn't want to go back to the Wyatt family. Braun's his own thing. He created himself. Bray Wyatt in that match proved by Braun attacking Braun, the black sheep Braun attacking Braun, that he was the one. Whether Braun wants it that way or not, he was the one that created this monster. Then again, Alexa Bliss tying in, the downfall of Braun Strowman in a way throughout the mixed match challenge was that he got caught up in his love for Alexa Bliss. That's his Sister Abigail. Even at the very end, Braun thought he won by putting Bray Wyatt into the swamp, when at the end, what happens? The Fiend reigns supreme. Like, Bray still wins. Bray still has the control. No matter how much Braun thinks that he can escape what he was and where he came from, he can't. It always comes back to Bray Wyatt. It always comes back to the dark side of Bray Wyatt. To me, that's what this whole thing told us. The promo, everything, every little bit of it, all the callbacks, the Lake of Reincarnation, because that was a chapter for Bray Wyatt. Every part of it, everything tied back to a moment before. And maybe it's because of my investment to the Bray Wyatt character that made me love it this much, because I've been all in on this character since day one. Sometimes to my disappointment and heartbreak. But that's why, to me, this hit on every single sector, because Braun thinks he wins. It's like, okay, if he buries Bray Wyatt in the swamp, then it's done. And then the Fiend rises up out of the swamp. Guess what? It ain't over because, yeah, you may have beaten Sweater Bray. You may have beaten Wyatt family Bray, but there's a part of this story that you haven't beat. Tim.
I may have to go back and watch the match again. But part of like why I don't like it is for all of the sins prior to the match. It may not be fair, but like, as I said, it being the main event of like an unconsequential pay-per-view, like the match that should have been cinematic wasn't cinematic. So I had to watch somebody's fake eyeball get popped out. We had a U.S. title match that didn't happen. And the challenger's the person who actually has the title, and he bought it and like he made it himself. Like that's that thing's still confusing. Like,
it's
very confusing. The SmackDown women's title match with Bayley was fair to middling. The Raw women's title match marred in controversy, not a very clean finish. The tag title match was good. Like it was great. It was a high point. But the high point was the first match of the night. And everything else from that point on just kind of drug it down. And so I was hoping for, by the time we got to the Wyatt swamp fight, that it was going to be able to pull it up, and it didn't. Like it didn't pull it up for me. More so just because, like, not to sound like I'm a broken record with Nick, but it's like they're doing these cinematic matches a lot more. Like there's at least one on every pay-per-view, if not more. And I understand why they're doing it, but it's Vince McMahon who finds a formula that works and then beats it into the ground.
Right, and there's the problem in still having monthly pay-per-views. And I get it. You're selling the network. But like you had I can't even remember days at this point, but was takeover in your house. You could have done that at the start of July. There's your July pay-per-view. You could have not had this one. Like, you know, I understand that WWE's in this weird situation where you're selling your own network. One of the perks of having the network was the fact that you have a monthly pay-per-view. That becomes a little more tricky right now. So, you know, you still have to produce them. So now do you do all in-ring matches with a wrestler crowd, or do you do the cinematic thing? Like, I fully expect that at All Out, AEW's All Out, that there will be some sort of cinematic or pre-taped match a la the what was the one at
Stampede.
The Stadium Stampede. There'll be something like that. But again,
except the Stadium Stampede was a fresh idea,
right? But
of a pre-taped match,
right? And
but
also my point is AEW only has pay-per-views May, August, December, and you know they only have the four or five pay-per-views
because they have a well-built infrastructure and they're not trying to outdo their means. Like you're gonna punish them because they only have
no. I'm not. But believe it or not, I'm not actually shitting on AEW right now. I'm just stating the fact that I
know the track record, so I'm
that's
leaning
fair.
towards.
That's fair.
That's fair.
That is fair. I'm not begrudging you on that one. I'm just saying, like, them doing a cinematic pay-per-view cinematic match every pay-per-view isn't quote unquote beating the dead horse because they only have 4 pay-per-views a year. Like WWE's in a odd, you know, they're in that odd place because they do the monthly pay-per-views, and this is something that was absolutely successful from the beginning, back-to-back nights at WrestleMania. So like now it's you know, and there's been hits, there've been some misses. Again, and for me this one was a huge hit. This one was a home run. But it's that thing. So are we going to get one at SummerSlam? Are we going to get one at TakeOver 30 on back-to-back nights? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the question that we're going to have to see over the next couple of weeks. And Any other thoughts on this match before we grade the pay-per-view?
I think we need to make a really big distinction between like a pre-taped match, like Stadium Stampede was, like the greatest wrestling match ever, and like a true cinematic match. I feel like the true cinematic match, as we look at the ones we really liked, was the Boneyard match, the Firefly Funhouse match, and really the Swamp Fight match. So we're leaving it to like these supernatural characters where it plays into like their story and their character a bit. Whereas you look at like the NXT one, which was just overdone.
Right, it was just an overdone match.
The Vikings versus the Street Profits, which was just overdone. The NXT, the Money in the Bank one, which was fine. It was different, but not necessarily like a cinematic storytelling match. More just a pre-taped match. So I feel like we're seeing like true cinematic movie style matches, Boneyard, Firefly Funhouse, and the Swamp Fight, and then we're just seeing like the pre-taped flavor of the matches.
See, I would count Money in the Bank more as a cinematic style, but more so in like the lines of like a comedy or like a Cannonball Run.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, I would agree. I would put that one in the
spots
cinematic
of
category.
Yeah, like it's absolutely cinematic because of
That's fair. That's a good.
the
that's a good call.
storytelling throughout. Like, this like, but the Street Profits versus the Viking Daddies or whatever. Like, I didn't care for that at all. I mean, they fought ninjas. Where's Big Ninja now? Where's Big Ninja?
I only loved it because of how much Ryan hated it. I said it.
Trash.
Yeah, but it's again. I feel like now that I'm not fatigued so much with the worst WWE pay-per-view of modern history, that if I go back and rewatch,
I would recommend rewatching the Swamp Fight. And after
I got Bret Hart SummerSlam matches to watch. I gotta pick my time.
You do have Bret Hart SummerSlam matches, and that's an episode I want to listen to, especially. All right, let's go around. Let's grade the pay-per-view. Nick, I know what your grade's going to be, but go ahead.
A
D. See, I thought you were going to give it an F, so you've already surprised me.
The wrestling was good. Just the hokiness of everything just ruined it for me completely.
All right, very good. Matt, go ahead.
C+.
Okay, Tim.
I'm gonna go C-.
Okay, Ryan.
I'm gonna split the difference between the last two and just call it a C.
And this one got a B for me. Matt, like, wrestling was
on
good.
The Stanford scale of excellence.
Wrestling was good. A few wonky decisions. It finished with 100%. If the Swamp Fight was an A+ for me.